Hey, hey everybody. This your girl Tiffany here live in the Fed. So I'm here because I want to focus on the topic about human evolution and get into the subject about primates, right? And Homo sapiens sapien and Neanderthals. And there's a reason why I'm doing this because still to this day, people still have a misconception about evolution. People have misconception about evolution. And people don't really understand what evolution is about. First of all, let me break down the word evolution. The word evolution means change over a period of time. That's all it means, changes. So peace to the chat. Shout out to Vocal. Shout out to Brother Umi. Shout out to y'all. Hey, how y'all doing? So the word evolution means changes, process over time. Okay? So as humans, we have not always looked the way we look today. Okay? As humans, we have gone through process of changes and we still a part of the evolution. Okay. Now, what there was different forms of humans. All right. Various forms of humans. Okay. We happen to be what is called Homo sapiens sapien, which means wise humans. Okay. We happen to be Homo sapiens sapiens, which exist around approximately 400,000 years ago. Okay. So we are what they call anatomical humans. All right. And all the rest of the humans that came before us are considered as archaic humans. Okay. Again, they are archaic humans. We are anatomically humans. All right. So that's what people got to understand. Also, I'm going to explain why, and I have articles and books, but I'm going to also explain how we are a part of the primates, right? How we are primates and how we have a common ancestor with the chimpanzee, gorillas, and monkeys. People seem to think that what we're saying or what I'm saying is that monkeys give birth to humans, okay, or human giving birth to monkeys. And that's a misconception because that's not the case. No, humans do not give birth to monkeys, nor do monkeys give birth to humans. Okay. However, we do share a common ancestor. And I'm going to get into that. All right. And you would think people would have enough sense to go and look up these information for themselves. You would think people have enough sense to do so. And these are adults, but apparently they don't. And this is what happens when you're being brainwashed and fed into a bunch of shenanigans. Okay? This is how you get tricked. This is how you get taken advantage of because you're being brainwashed. And you're not doing the research for yourself. And then I hear people talking about microevolution and macroevolution. Yes, it is true that we are a part of the microevolution, but however, we are also part of the macroevolution. And that's something I'm gonna have to explain, but I probably won't be able to get into that tonight because I don't plan on being on the video very long. So if I don't do it tonight, then I'll do it the next video talking about micro and macro evolution. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the subject. All right. And I hope everybody's being careful with pollen. Because this pollen weather will get you. You gotta be careful with pollen out here. So I hope y'all be mindful of that. I just want to throw that out there for y'all. So let me go ahead and let me walk through this. Let's go to the first article. So the first article that I have. When did we become fully humans? What fossils and DNA tells us about the evolution of modern intelligence. Now, this article comes from theconversation.com. It's pretty reliable. And this came out on September the 9th of 2020. Now, watch this. Listen to what the article is saying. It says, when did something like us first appear on the planet? It turns out there's remarkably little agreement on this question. Fossils and DNA suggest people looking like us, anatomically modern Homo sapiens evolved around 300,000 years ago. Surprisingly, archaeology, tools, artifacts, cave art suggest that complex technology and cultures, behavioral modernity evolved more recently, 50,000 to 65,000 years ago. Okay? Some scientists interpret this as suggesting the earliest Homo sapiens weren't inherently modern, weren't entirely modern, yet the different data tracks different things. Skulls and genes tell us about brain artifacts, about culture. Our brain probably became modern before our culture. All right, so let me break that down. So basically, the earliest form of humans, right, did not have the concept of intelligence and, language skills like we do today. All right. So to break this down, basically, those humans or the Homo sapien humans, right, would have been considered as being barbaric. And if you remember the Geico commercial, right? Remember those cavemen that you used to see on the commercial on Geico? That's what the earliest human would kind of look like, and they would have that behavior as animals. You know what I'm saying? They would do things that, other primates would have done. You know what I'm saying? Non-humans like gorilla or chimpanzee. You know what I'm saying? They would have similar behavioralism. But it wasn't until 50,000 to 60,000 years ago that the brain became more developed to where a human would have the ability to really become more rational and be able to create a culture and be able to develop language that they can be able to, be able to communicate. Okay? But prior to that, human has not always been this rational or very functional. Okay? Also, what you guys would discover is that culture plays a very valuable part in evolution. Not just biology. I mean, biology is gonna always be there, but but basically culture is like the driving force of evolution because it sustains it, it keeps it going. So pretty much without culture, would you really have evolution? I mean, yeah, you have biology, but would the evolution of humanity last without culture? On a grand scale, would it last? No, because the modern human would not exist. The, as a matter of fact, the modern human would become extinct like all the rest of them, like the Homo erectus, Neanderthal. That the modern human would become extinct if there was no culture. So culture pretty much preserved the evolution. It kept the evolution going. All right. Now, let's go back to that article. Let's go back to the article real fast. It says some scientists interpret this as suggesting the earliest early Homo sapien weren't entirely modern, yet the different data tracks different things. Skulls and genes tell us about brain artifacts, about culture. Our brains probably became modern before our culture. All right, and let me show you guys about the keyword suggest. Now, when you see that word suggest, that means that that's what they discovered so far, but they don't have the absolute answer. Okay, so whenever you see that in articles that scientists suggest this, that, and other, that does not mean that it's absolute or 100. It just basically means that it's what they discovered so far. Now, we got some people that believe that Lucy was the first human on the planet. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, that's what they discovered so far, but she's not necessarily the first human. And by the way, she was an archaic human. Okay, she was a Australopithecus. That's what she was, an Australopithecus. She was not Homo sapiens sapiens. She was an Australopithecus. All right, and scientists don't know for sure if she was the first human, but that's what they discovered so far. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the absolute answer. It's more to discover. So it's more research that got to be done. Now watch this. Some scientists interpret this as suggesting the earliest. Oh, okay, I already read that part. Wow. All right, let me go down. So it says the Great Leap. So for 200,000 years, 300,000 years after Homo sapiens first appeared, tools and artifacts remained surprisingly simple, little better than Neanderthal technology, and simpler than those of modern hunter-gatherers such as certain indigenous Americans. Starting about 65,000 to 50,000 years ago, more advanced technology started appearing. Complex projectile weapons such as bows and spear throws, fish hooks, semantics, and sewing needles. All right, and it then go further down. Anatomically modernity, right? So anatomical modernity, which is, it says bones of primitive Homo sapien first appeared 300,000 years ago in Africa, with brains as large or larger than ours. They're followed by anatomically modern Homo sapiens at least 200,000 years ago, and brain shape became essentially modern by at least 100,000 years ago. Okay, at this point, humans had brain cases similar in size and shape to ours. All right, assuming the brain was assuming the brain was as modern as the box that held it, our African ancestors theoretically could have discovered relatively built space telescopes, written novels, and love songs. Their bones say they were just as human as we are. Okay. Now, according to this information, it says the brain shape became essentially modern by at least 100,000 years ago. Okay. By at least 100,000 years ago. So, in other words, the brain development, right, of humans start to grow around this time period, around 100,000 years ago. That's basically what they're trying to say. Okay. And now, this is something they found, a 300,000-year-old skull in Morocco. So, what people have to understand, realize that there is complexity in evolution, and evolution is not linear. Evolution is not linear. It's pretty chaotic. But again, that goes back to micro evolution and macro evolution, which there'll be another subject. But people, and also what you have to know when it comes to culture, culture is not just dealing with being philosophical or creating some type of religious ideology or spirituality. There's a lot that goes into culture. Science deal with culture. Technology, engineering, mathematics, that's part of culture. That's part of building a civilization, building a society, building infrastructure. Okay. So culture goes beyond just, hey, what's going on? What's up? What's going on? But culture goes beyond just coming up with just philosophies. Okay. Culture deals with the stem. You know what I'm saying? That's part of building a culture, because when you have a culture, you also got to build a civilization. You got to have an infrastructure. You know, so basically, the Homo sapiens, they may not have been able to communicate the way that we're communicating now. They may not have been able to speak a particular language, but they were able to use their skills. Okay. They did a lot of manual labor. So they were able to do something. All right. Now you might wonder, well, Tiffany, how did we end up as animals? Why are we part of the animal kingdom? Well, we are primates. We are primates. We are primates. We are primates. But let me show y'all down here. It says, because the fossil record is so patchy, fossils provide only minimal dates. Human DNA suggests even earlier origins for modernity. Comparing genetic differences between DNA in modern people and ancient Africans, it estimates that our ancestors lived 260,000 to 350,000 years ago. So all living humans descend from those people, suggesting that we inherit the fundamental commodities of our species, our humanity, from them. All right. But it says all their descended Bantu, Berber, Aztec, Aboriginal, Tamil, um, and goes down to the Irish. It says shares certain peculiar behaviors absent in other great apes. All human culture form long-term pair bonds between men and women to care for children. We sing and dance. We make art. We preen our hair, adorn our bodies with ornaments, tattoos, and makeup. All right. So, this is the article from theconversation.com. Okay. So if you guys want to look up the article, you can just look up when did we become fully human, what fossils and DNA tells us about the evolution of modern intelligence. Now, we got to go to the part. Okay. I'm waiting for this article to come up. Okay. Well, maybe I'll just go to Wikipedia. Let's go ahead. Let me try to pull this article up. Give me a minute. Um, All right, so let me go ahead and pull this article up for you guys. Let me show y'all real quick. So unfortunately, I couldn't get the other article that I wanted. All right, so this one comes from palomar.edu. It talks about humans, right? It says, in addition to the great apes, the family hominid includes our species, Homo sapiens. In the past, there also were other species of humans as well as hominids more similar to us than the chimpanzee and bonobos. They will be described in the last three tutorials of this series. Okay. Now, as you can see, it says bipedal locomotion. So to be bipedal means that you standing on 2 feet. Okay, you stand on 2 legs. Uh, so all the other animals, they are not bipedal. All right, they have to walk on 4 legs. So chimpanzee, gorillas, and monkeys, they walk on 4 legs, pretty much, right? Whereas we stand on 2 legs. All right, so right here, as you can see, it says review of apes and human classification. Watch this. So as you can see, it says anthropodia. All right, and you got the infraorder, and you have the superfamily right over here. The species, the New World monkeys, Old World monkeys, and then you got the ape humans, right? Okay, so and then here's the family. Now here's the subfamily right here. Okay, all right, but we all come from the hominids. Now you see that the superfamily, Homodia, all right, Homidia, excuse me. This is where we all come from, right up here. However, there's a difference. The tribes are different. Okay, the subfamily are different. All right, but the family are pretty much the same, and the superfamily is the same. Now, let's see. Let's go up a little bit. Now it says a downside evolution of efficient bipedalism in humans is that it resulted in changes in the pelvis, which unfortunately included a narrow birth canal in females. As a consequence, giving birth is a more difficult and riskier process for us than for most of other mammal species. So during delivery, human babies must partially rotate laterally twice during their passage through the oval birth canal in order for their comparatively large heads and then their broad shoulders to make it through. Okay, so this is usually a long, tiring, and painful process for the mother as a as well as a risky one for her baby. So, because of this, human mothers generally seek help from a midwife for the delivery. Other primates give birth without assistance. A partial evolutionary solution to this birth difficulty for humans was fetuses being born at a less mature stage when their heads and torsos are smaller. So, the trade off is that human infants are more vulnerable. By comparison, chimpanzees at birth are neurologically and cognitively ahead of human babies of the same age, but the chimps begin to fall behind by about 6 months old because of the more rapid continued development of the human brain following birth. All right. Now, if you see the difference, this is why humans cannot give birth to chimpanzee and chimpanzee giving birth to humans because there's a difference. Okay. All right. So, boom. All right. Now, let me walk you through another article because I don't think that was a good article right there, but they help explain a little bit. But let me find a better article. That's not the article I want to use. Okay. All right, so here's another one. This is humans and other great apes. All right, this was updated on August 26th of 2022. So it says humans are classified in the subgroup of primates known as the great apes. So humans are primates and are classified along with other apes in a primate subgroup known as hominoids, right? Or hominoidea. This ape group can be further subdivided into the great apes and lesser apes. So humans have bodies that are genetically and structurally very similar to those of the great apes, and so we are classified in the great ape subgroup, which is also known as the hominid, right? So it says ape diversity. The first apes evolved about 25 million years ago, and by 20 million years ago were a very diverse group. Within the last 10 million years, however, many apes species became extinct as the earth climates cooled and dried and their forest environments changed to woodland and grassland. Okay? Now, there are now only about 20 living species of apes, and they are divided into two major groups. These are the lesser apes containing the gibbons, and the great apes containing the orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzee, and humans. So, yes, you see it right here where it says great apes contain the orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzee, and humans. That's the commonality we have because, again, we go back to the primates. We go back to the primates are what? The great apes. All right. And then it goes into the 8 features. So it says the apes, including humans, possess the same general features that all primates share, but they differ from other primates in a number of distinctive ways, right? So features that separate the apes from other groups of primates include a brain that is larger and more complex than other primates, distinctive molar teeth in the lower jaw which have a Wi-Fi pattern, and it says a shoulder and arm structure that enables the arm to freely rotate around the shoulder, a rib cage that forms a wide but shallow chest, and apex, and no eternal tail. All right. Um. So, and it talk about the lesser apes. Okay. So the lesser apes goes down. It says there are 14 species of relatively small body apes known as lesser ape. These are the gibbons, which lives in trees, rarely descend to the ground and are active during the day. Gibbons are found in the forests of Southeast Asia. Okay. All right. So it talks about the features, etc. We ain't gonna go too much into that. The great apes, of course, I already went over that. All right, so as you can see, the orangutan, there are 2 species living of orangutans. The Borneo orangutan, the Pongo pygamius, and the Sumatran orangutan, etc. All right, and it says orangutan have the following features: considerable sexual dimorphism, in which the males are about twice as big as the females. Okay. Says body adapted for living in trees, which they rarely leave, and also for the quadru- quadrupedal movement on the ground. So these adaptations include very long arms with a shoulder structure that enables them to move slowly from branch to branch. Okay. So they diet fruit supplement by insects. Okay. Occasionally use of tools such as twigs and sticks. A solitary lifestyle is so when breeding or when mothers have offspring. All right. So it says gorilla. There are 2 living species of gorilla: the western gorilla, all right, and the eastern gorilla. Gorillas live in dense forests in western and central tropical Africa. Gorillas are the largest of all primates. Their features include considerable sexual dimorphism, in which the male are about twice as big as the female. Body adapted for climbing trees when young, and also for quadrupedal movement on the ground. These adaptations include arms and shoulders that enable them to swing from branch to branch. Okay. So a diet of fruit, leaves, and shoots, long pointed canine teeth, and long jaws, a social lifestyle in which about 10 to 20 individuals live in small permanent groups. All right. So, and there are only one species of human, modern humans, Homo sapien. Human now live in almost every part of the world. Okay. So now, as you know, they talk about sexual dimorphism, and I can explain that. So, sexual dimorphism is basically uh it deals with the study of the same species but their biological differences and physiology. Again, same species, biological differences and physiology. Okay? So, when you look at the human species, right? During the process of puberty, girls usually start their puberty before boys. So you would normally see a little girl that looks like she's taller than a male, a little boy. However, when the boy starts his puberty, he catches up and he starts to develop a little bit more, a little bit more height and a little bit more broad shoulders and become a little bit more muscular. Whereas the girl, she may not get as tall. So girls will stop growing around maybe 20, maybe 19, 18 or 19. And the males typically stop growing about 21. Okay. So that is called the growth spur. So the growth spur is where you start to like have your puberty and you start growing. All right. Again, that's evolution in itself. All right. So girls normally start having growth spurs before boys. And then the boys catch up and and yeah, they outdo the girls. You know what I'm saying? So normally males also carry what is called the testosterone. The males carry testosterone, whereas the female carry estrogen. But then there's another hormone that women carry, and it starts with a P. I can't get off the top of my head right now, but it starts with a P. But that hormone in the female is basically comes about when she starts her cycle or the process of her pregnancy. All right, I think it's called progesterone, or something like that. I could be wrong. Yeah, but women normally have estrogen, and with the estrogen hormones, it basically give us our feminine features, right? It allow us to develop hormones which cause us to have breasts. Um, you know, our hips become a little wider. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and our vocal cords become a little bit more softer and gentle, typically. And our skin is a little bit more smoother. So what I mean. So and we don't have that much hair on our bodies. Whereas the males, when they have testosterone, their voice normally gets deeper. Um, Not only they voice get deeper, but also they become a little bit more. They have more muscle mass. You know what I'm saying? They fingers, you know, get bigger. Uh, they have a little bit more strength. Let's see. Uh, what else? What else? What else am I missing? Um. Also, yeah, they develop semen, sperm, whereas uh, women we develop ovaries. So, so yeah, pretty much dimorphism. Pay attention to that kind of stuff, and also our adaptation to society. So what I mean by our adaptation basically how we respond to nature or how we go about dealing with nature. So men tend to be more of like a hunter gatherer than women. Now there were women during the time that did hunter gathering, but men did more traveling. You know what I'm saying? Because again, they have the physical strength. So most of the time they have the physical strength and they have the ability to go out there and fight. You know what I'm saying? Fight other animals. Whereas women, we were more domesticated like, what I'm saying? We didn't travel as much, you know what I mean? Because we had to care for the young. And we were, what I'm saying, not only care for the young, but we were also like I said, we didn't have that type of physical strength. Also, we carry children. So by us carrying children, that's why our body is shaped the way it is. And we produce a little bit more water. So it wasn't, again, the concept of gender role didn't take place until later. You know what I'm saying? But during that early beginning, it wasn't no gender role per se, but it was just how you adapt to nature. Okay. Now, I will say this: everybody don't do the same thing. I mean, just because you a female doesn't mean that every female is going to act the same way. You know what I'm saying? There's similarities, but not every female act the same way. You know what I'm saying? Same with males. Not every male is going to be the same way. You know what I'm saying? So that's when you get into the concept about social psychology. I mean, that's the whole psychology thing right there. But then that goes into the concept of evolutionary psychology too. You know what I mean? Because you start to look at human developing like certain type of characteristic and have their own individuality and how they go about responding to nature. So you got some women who can be able to withstand being in certain type of environments, and then you have other women who can't deal with being in a chaotic environment. You know what I mean? Um, and it's the same go for men. But but what we have in common at the end of the day, we are still human. We still humans. We still, what I'm saying, we're still part of the Homo sapien family. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we have a different dimorphism. And our dimorphism is what, give us our biological makeup and our physiology. Okay? So, um, so yeah. So as I was reading an article about the primates, difference between the male and females, like where it says the males are twice as big as the females. I mean, that's typically throughout any organism. You will find that most organisms, when it comes down to the genders, that one gender tends to be a little bit bigger than the other gender. Okay, and typically the male gender tends to be, what I'm saying, tends to have more physicality, um, or look a little bit more larger than the females. That's just the way nature make us. You know what I'm saying? We can't control that part of nature. That's how nature did it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I also want to explain what brings us into the animal kingdom, because we're mammals. We're mammals, and as mammals, we have the ability to nurse. You know what I'm saying? And how do we go about reproducing? Well, of course, you engage into sexual activity. That's what mammals do. They engage into sexual activity to reproduce. Okay? And our survival instincts, that what makes us the mammals that we are, and that put us into the animal kingdom. So I'm just going to break it down. All humans have animalistic behavior. All of us. We all got that animal nature in us. However, we have been domesticated through cultural ideologies. But at the end of the day, we still have the animal nature in us. Manly P. Hall says it the best. And some of y'all may not know who Manly P. Hall is. Okay. He was a lecturer, he was an author, a scholar. his thing, he was more into the concept of he was more into like the new age type of stuff. That's what he was into, the new thought movement. If you guys know about the new thought, that's like the new age Gnosticism and uh esotericism and all that. That's what mainly P Hall was, dealing with. He was a lecturer, he was an author. He wrote plenty of great books, and his lecture was pretty good in my opinion. But he said something that was very thought provoking. He said that the primitive man acts in his nature. The primitive man acts in his nature, whereas the civilized man has been domesticated. So I thought about that. I said the primitive man acts in his nature, whereas the civilized man has been domesticated. So what he was saying is that the primitive man is acting true in his nature because, you know, without the concept of culture, without the concept of ideology, he's going to adapt to nature based on the way he knows how to adapt to nature, right? Whereas the man that is civilized, he has been domesticated not to act on that true nature. And if you know about the true nature of humanity, it's pretty chaotic. It's pretty chaotic. It's more chaotic than what it is today. You know what I'm saying? So if you didn't have the concept of culture, then human would be more out of control. It will be a lot of things going on. We will become extinct. To be honest, we'll become extinct. We would not be here long. We would not even exist. We wouldn't even be here to talk. Because that's how chaotic nature is. It's not a linear thing. Okay? It's like that's how nature operates. You know what I'm saying? It's like a random thing. You know what I mean? So everything is based on chances. Everything is based on probability. You know what I'm saying? Everything that we experience or go through in life is not based on absolute. So there's no absolute when it comes to nature. there's really no absolute per se. The only thing that's absolute is that you're going to die. That's absolute. You're going to die eventually. That's absolute. But everything else ain't absolute. You know what I'm saying? Because one day it may be this way, then next minute it may be out of control. One minute it might rain, tomorrow it might be a damn tornado. You might have a volcano taking place. You might have a doggone hurricane happening. That's nature. That is nature. But I don't want to bore y'all with that. I just wanted to kind of like just, yeah, I know I just went way overboard. But yeah, basically, dimorphism deals with the biological characteristic and the physiology of the same species. That's all it deals with. So let's talk about Neanderthals real fast. Because people tend to have this misconception about the Neanderthal genes. So I have heard people saying that, the Neanderthals are white people. And that's not necessarily true, but I guess they're saying that because the Neanderthals, they were located in the region of what we know today as Europe and Asia. They was up in that region. Okay. But they're not necessarily white people, because let me tell you why. The concept of race was a non-factor. There was no such thing as race as we know today. All right. The only thing you had was a human race. They didn't, the Homo sapiens, okay, 300,000 years ago, 400,000 years ago, they weren't thinking about no damn race. Wasn't no such thing as race. The concept of race came about 1600 well, around 1600 to 1700. That's where the concept of race came in. Prior to that, there was no concept of race. There was no concept, especially you talking about the Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. There was no race. But anyways, if any of you have taken a DNA test, right? If you took a DNA test, the ancestry one, you will learn that you have some Neanderthal genes. Okay, you might have like 1%. You might have like 0.5%, or maybe like 0.03%. I know on my 23andMe, I got some Neanderthal. It's not that much. It's probably like around 0.02%, somewhere like that. Because the reason being is that, according to science, that the Neanderthals and Homo sapiens had interbreeded with each other. Okay. So when the Neanderthals became extinct, the Homo sapiens still carry on their genes because of the fact that they had interbreed. Okay. They had, you know what I mean by interbreed, right? That's basically they had sexual relation. So that's why we as humans carry those Neanderthals. Now let's look at what Neanderthals are, for those who seem to think that basically they are only associated with white people, which is quite interesting. Cause all right, now some of us say Neanderthals, but it's pronounced as Neanderthals. Okay, so um, now watch this. So the overviews, right? Neanderthals are our closest extinct human relatives. Some defining features of their skulls include the large middle parts of the face, angled cheeks, bones, and a huge nose for humidifying and warming cold, dry air. Okay, their body were shorter and stockier than ours, another adaptation to living in cold environments, but their brains were just as large as ours and often larger, proportional to their brawnier bodies. So Neanderthals made and used a diverse set of sophisticated tools, controlled fire, lived in shelters, made and wore clothing, were skilled hunters of large animals, and also ate plant foods and occasionally made symbolic or ornamental objects. There is evidence that Neanderthals deliberately buried their dead and occasionally even marked their graves with offerings such as flowers. No other primates and no earlier human species had ever practiced this sophisticated and symbolic behavior. All right. So it goes on to talk about how they survived. Watch this. So, compared to the early humans living in tropical Africa with more abundant edible plants foods available year round, the number of plants foods Neanderthals could eat would have dropped significantly during the winter of colder climates, forcing Neanderthals to exploit other food options like meat more heavily. Okay, so there's evidence that Neanderthals were specialized seasonal hunters, eating animals were available at the time. Okay, scientists have clear evidence of Neanderthals hunting from uncovering sharp wooden spears and large numbers of big game animal remains were hunted and butchered by Neanderthals. All right. So going down, um, it says Neanderthals used tools for activities like hunting and sewing. Left right arm asymmetry indicates that they hunted with thrusting spears that allowed them to kill large animals from a safe distance. So Neanderthals bones have a high frequency of fractures, which, along with their distribution, are similar to injuries among professional rodeo riders who regularly interact with large, dangerous animals. So, scientists have also recovered scrapers and awls, right, larger stones or bones version of the sewing needle that modern humans use today, associated with animal bones at Neanderthal sites. A Neanderthal would probably have used a scraper to first clean the animal hide and then use an awl to poke holes in it, and finally use the strips of animal tissue to lace together a loose fitting garment. Neanderthals were the first early humans to wear clothing, but it is only with modern humans that scientists find evidence of the manufacture and use of bone sewing needles to sew together tighter fitting clothing. All right. All right. So it says, so both fossils and genetic evidence indicate that Neanderthals and modern humans evolved from a common ancestor between 700,000 and 300,000 years ago. Neanderthals and modern humans belong to the same genus Homo and inhabited the same geographic areas in Western Asia for 30,000 and 50,000 years. So genetic evidence indicate while they interbreed with non-African modern humans, they ultimately became distinct branches of the human family tree. Okay, so in fact, Neanderthals and modern humans may have had little direct interaction for 10,000s of years until during one very cold period when modern humans spread into Europe. Their presence may have prevented Neanderthals from expanding back into areas they once favored and served as a catalyst for the Neanderthals' impending extinction. So, over just a few thousand years after modern humans moved into Europe, Neanderthals' numbers dwindled to the point of extinctions. All right, all traces of Neanderthals disappeared about 40,000 years ago. The most recently dated Neanderthals fossil come from small areas of Western Europe and the Near East, which was likely where the last population of this early human species existed. All right. So again, now going back to the article, it says the modern humans may have little direct interaction for tens of thousands of years until one very cold period when modern humans spread into Europe. So when modern humans left Africa, right, and went over to Europe, okay, dispersed. When they dispersed out of Africa, all right, they went over to Europe, they encountered the Neanderthals. And through their interaction with Neanderthals, they interbreeded with them. Okay. So, I know I kind of sound strange right now. I know I sound a little tired because I am. So my energy is not as hyped as it normally would be. But I hope you guys. But I'm glad that you guys was able to come here and watch. And I thank you all for tuning in and listening to the videos or whatnot. But yeah, again, this is how we all. Okay, Mr. What's up, JJ? What's up, JJ? All the way from Ethiopia. Shout out to Ethiopia. I gotta get some Ethiopians on here for real. Shout out to Ethiopia. Okay, I gotta get some Ethiopians on here. You know, I would love to build with Ethiopian people for some reason. I would just love to have a conversation with them because I think that they have a lot to really talk about, especially when it comes to like the northeast of Africa. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would love to build with the Ethiopians and those from Eritrea or Eritrea and those from Egypt and Sudan. I don't know. I hopefully I get that chance one day. But shout out to Ethiopia, and I love Ethiopian food. I do. I love me some Ethiopian food. Child, I hope one day I can get me some. Sure, I love me some Ethiopian. I love the injera. I love the injera with the with the veggies and the lamb and stuff. That stuff be good. That stuff be good, but yeah, shout out to my Ethiopian people out there. Shout out to y'all. But yeah, anyways, and speaking of that, I'm glad that speaking of Ethiopia, okay, the human the modern humans, right, the Homo sapiens, were found in the region over in the eastern part of Africa, right between Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda area, all the way on down to probably like Tanzania, somewhere like that. That's where the human fossils were really found. And then they was found. Then they found some human remains over there in Morocco, and also in Chad area. As a matter of fact, oh, I forgot something. Chad. Speaking of Chad, let me. All right, so here it is. So here it is. Chadisius. So let's look up Chadisius real quick. So Chadisius Sahil Anthropis. Sahil Anthropis Chadisius. That's what they call them. Okay. So they name it after Chad, the country. All right. But it has a T in the front, but the T is silent. Okay. Anyways, it's an extinct species of hominid dated about 7 million years ago during the Miocene epoch. The species and its genus, Sahelanthropus, was announced in 2002 based mainly on a partial cranium nicknamed Tumani discovered in northern Chad. Okay. Now, it lived close to the time of the chimpanzee-human divergence and was possibly related to Orion, a species of hominid that lived about 1 million years later. It may have been ancestral to both human and chimpanzee, which would place it in the tribe of hominid, or alternatively, an early members of the tribe of Gorini. All right. And it says suggest and studies in the 2020s analyzed the Vermeer and Ona, and their results suggest that the Sahelanthropus was not habitually bipedal, ca- casting some doubt on its position as a human ancestor. All right. So let's look at the human and yeah, the chimpanzee and human last common ancestor. Let's look up that. All right. It says yeah, the human chimpanzee last common ancestor is the last common ancestor shared by the extinct Homo and Pan genera of homini. Estimates of divergence they vary widely from 13 to 5 million years ago. Okay. All right. So here it is. The Tassian tribe homini was proposed to separate humans from chimpanzee, okay, and gorillas on the notion that the least similar species should have been separated from the other two. However, later evidence revealed that Pan and Homo are closer genetically than are Pan and gorilla. Thus, Pan was referred to the tribe homini with Homo. So, gorilla now became the separate genus and was referred to the new Tessian tribe Gorini. All right. So that's basically what they show. And then down here it says all the human related genera of tribe Homini that arose after diversion from the pan are members of the subtribe Hominia, including the genera Homo and Australopithecus. This group represents the human clade and its members are called hominids. All right. So that's that information. So I wanted to share that real quick about the Chadisians. So the Chadisons was was a skeleton they found that scientists found in Chad, in northern Chad, actually. Okay. So according to the information on here, it says that the kingdom is animal and the class is mammals and the order is primates. Okay. All right. So it says they about 7 million years ago. Okay. So it's a lot of things that scientists have to discover. It's so much information that gotta be discovered as far as like evolution is concerned. But we well what that's what we know so far. Okay, that's what is known so far. There's still a lot more that has to be looked into. Again, it's a lot that goes into evolution. It really a whole lot. So I'm gonna stop there, and I'm just gonna give some recommendation of books that you guys can check out. So this book right here is called Evolutionary Psychology by Stephen J. Gollin and Donald H. Maburney. All right, I don't know if y'all can see that. I know the light is in the way. Let's see. Go ahead and post it up. Okay, so that's the name of this book right here. So it deals with the evolution of psychology and how basically um the brain development of humans, Homo sapiens, and how the concept of culture came about, whatnot. So yeah, it does get into it. Yeah, it is a part of evolution. Okay, that's the part of evolution, but in this case, it deals with the psychology of that. Deals with how the thought process came into existence and all these different things. All right, so all right, so yeah, check this book out. And this book right here is called Race and Human Evolution. All right, so this book deals with, of course, the concept of race, as we know that race is a social construct, and human evolution, what I'm saying, basically deals with, how we are primates and Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and all of that. Okay, but as I mentioned, the concept of race didn't come out to later on, but prior to that, there was no such thing. The only thing that exists was the human race. So there was no label as far as, oh, were they African, I mean, were they black, white, whatever. It was really no label of that. All right, so here it is. Yeah, check this book out, and this is by Melford Woodhoff and Rachel Kaspari. Okay, Melford Woodhoff and Rachel Kaspari. All right, and it says A Fatal Attraction. All right, so you guys need to check that book out. Um, Anthropology, everything you need to know to master the subject in one book. Okay, so for those of you that may not know what anthropology deals with the study of humanity in general. It deals with the study of humanity in general. That's all anthropology deals with. And there's like four classifications of anthropology. You have cultural anthropology, biological anthropology, linguistics, and archaeology. All right. So those are the four branches of anthropology: biological, cultural, linguistics, and archaeology. All right. So human evolution will fall under the concept of biological and archaeological anthropology. Okay. Because you're dealing with fossils, you're dealing with DNA, you're dealing with human development, right? You're dealing with cells, tissues, etc. Uh, Genetic diversity, genetic mutation, genetic drift, all of that. So all of that is incorporated under biological anthropology and uh archaeology. All right. So let's see what else I got over here. The Red Queen sets in the evolution of human nature. You know what? This book is very intriguing to me because when I first got it, I said, I wonder what this book is about. But basically, it talk about the evolution of sex. Evolution of sex. Talk about a difference between men behavior and women's behavior from a biological standpoint and how we adapt to nature, and also it deals with the evolution of sex. Reproduction, how we go from the concept of procreation to recreation. Recreation means pleasurable and something that's fun. Deal with leisure. Procreation deals with reproducing and whatnot. So yeah, so this book I would recommend people get. It's called The Red Queen: Sex and the Evolution of Human Nature. Matt Ridley. Let me see what year this book came out. Child, this book came out in '93, but I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary for people to read, especially if you want to learn about dimorphism. This is the book that you need to get. Okay. So, um, so this one is called Our African Unconscious: The Black Origins of Mysticism and Psychology by Edward Bruce Bynum. All right. So this actually the second edition. I got the first edition as well. Okay, so this is the African Unconscious. All right, this is the first edition, but this is the second edition. So I recommend people get this. Okay, so in this book, he talks about basically humanity, the origin of psychology, and also how the concept of mysticism came about. So he gets into the anthropology, the cultural anthropology, and of course he gets into the the scientific evolution, all of that in this book. So yeah, if you guys don't have it, I recommend you guys get this book. And then last but not least, by Dr. Alice Roberts. This book right here is called Evolution: The Human Story. All right, it's a big book. It's got a weight to it. It's got a nice little weight. But yep, this book is called Evolution: The Human Story. Okay. So that's all I have for you guys. I appreciate you all listening. Thank you all so much. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you guys want to check out my previous videos, you guys can do that as well. And again, I know I sound like I'm very tired. I am, so I apologize if I sound like I'm real sleepy. I just don't have the energy that I normally would have. All right. I did some workout today, so I worked out. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's part of why my energy is draining. Yeah. But so yep. And also I took some allergy pills. But but I don't have the energy that I normally would have, you know. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for actually watching the video. Okay. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Make sure you check out my previous videos and leave your comments, and I will try to respond as much as I can. As much as I can. All right, I will make sure I respond to them, and I will keep you guys posted on the next subject, the next topic. So I'm gonna try to do the part 2 of this, talk about the microevolution and macroevolution. Yeah, so I'm gonna do that. All right, because it kind of baffles me that people say they believe in the microevolution but don't quite believe in macroevolution. Hmm. They say they believe in microevolution, but not the macroevolution. Hmm. But evolution is evolution. But again, I'm gonna say that for another topic. So hopefully I could do that the next following day. Get that topic out the way or whatnot. So I'll try to do a part 2 of this. But anyways, you guys take it easy. Have a wonderful evening, whatever your time zone may be. I don't know. It might be morning time, wherever y'all at. So y'all take it easy. I'll keep you guys posted. All right, peace. And this your girl Tiffany, and I'm out. Thank you.